Hello again, everyone. So today I'll be finally talking about Summer MISORA, our newest summer character. Unfortunately, she isn't as good as everybody wanted her to be, including myself, of course. But I still believe she does have a few things going for her right now, at least. She might get a little bit power crept in the future, but it's still a little bit soon to actually know that. It might still take some time for her to actually be power crept, but it's definitely a possibility. She is kind of a somewhat interesting character because she does have a few things going on for her. Her kit is kind of unusual, and we will see that in a little bit. But yeah, overall, she is a little bit underwhelming. But it's not all bad. It's not all bad. Let's actually go through her skills now. Going over her Union Burst, she does deal a good amount of damage at 387,000. She reduces some defense, it's not a lot, some magic defense, just 94. Also increases her own magic attack, and she will also get 4 Psy Storm charges. These Psy Storm charges are actually for her first skill. She basically uses 1 charge for each use of her first skill, and she also changes her attack pattern. This attack pattern is actually quite interesting. We will go over that in a little bit, but basically, the Psy Storm charges are for her first skill, and they really don't do anything else. They don't give her any attack buffs, any defensive buffs, nothing really. They don't really do anything. They are just used for her first skill. And let's actually go over her first skill right now, which basically just deals some damage, a really nice amount of damage, and also reduces the boss's magical defense by 47, and of course consumes 1 Psy Storm charge. At first you might think just 47 defense down is very low, which it is, but apparently her her loop pattern, her attack pattern is actually very interesting. So basically I'll show it on screen. Her attack pattern after using her burst and after, after her special skill is basically using skill 2 and then using her first skill 4 times in a row. And she actually does this very quickly. Her first skill is used very quickly without any downtime in between them. So giving her attack speed buffs actually doesn't really do that much. It still helps her, of course, because she does have downtime between other skills. But for her first skill, it doesn't really change her very much. And since she does use her first skill so often, just 4 times in a row very quickly, she does end up reducing a good amount of defense, magic defense, by around 187 magic defense. And I did the math. Basically, this amount of defense reduction stays up for around 10 seconds because she does take around 1 second to fire each shot of her skill 1. And now going over her second skill, she gives attack to a lot of people around her. Sorry, not a lot of people. Everybody around her in a certain range, of course. A 250 range is actually quite high. And the amount of attack she gives is 9,000 attack, which is a reasonably good amount. She also gives everybody in the same range a 10 TP regeneration for 8 seconds. This translates, of course, into 80 TP, but of course with TP fill rate, this is around 12 TP per second, so it's around 90 something TP instead. And of course, he also gives everybody a barrier that absorbs physical and magical damage. And this barrier absorbs around 10k damage, as you can see over here. And going, of course, over her special skill, just like I mentioned before, this special skill just gives her 4 Psy Storm charges and makes her switch her attack pattern. Now, as you can see, MISORA herself does do a bunch of stuff. She deals a good amount of damage, she reduces some defense, she also gives everybody attack, TP, and a physical and magical barrier for a nice amount of defense overall. But really, the problem with MISORA is doing a bunch of stuff, but not really excelling at anything. She is overall a very solid unit, and actually quite strong. Believe it or not, she is one of the strongest units we have for magic in the wind element. I did a bunch of testing, I'll maybe show it on screen right now, and you can see the damage difference with a bunch of different teams. I basically just changed MISORA with the other magic supporters or sub DPSs we have for wind right now, and MISORA was actually the best one of them all, so she does have that going for her. As you can see, she's not all that bad, but the bad stuff is still there. It's just like I mentioned before, she does do a lot of stuff, but none of the stuff is actually incredibly amazing. The amount of magic attack she gives is not that super high, it's still a reasonably good amount. The TP she gives to everybody is not super high, but still a reasonably good amount. The barrier she gives is actually quite nice. She does deal a good amount of damage, but it's nothing too amazing. Of course, she's not like a dedicated super DPS carry like Kyoka is. Of course, that's not really her role overall. Really, in my opinion, she should be actually reducing defense way more, because I feel like the amount she reduces right now is not really high enough. This maybe should be at around 50, and this maybe on the burst should be at around 100. That way, maybe the amount of defense reduction would actually be way better. I really feel like they should have increased the amount of defense reduction she gives. And that's basically it. Maybe also increase the amount of attack she gives. If they actually just increased the numbers just a little bit, it would be like an incredibly good unit in general. Another really bad thing about her skill set is her actually special skill, because she does have to use a special skill to start using the second attack pattern. If she is interrupted while using the special skill, she will start or try using it again until she is not interrupted, and then she'll actually switch attack patterns to the other one with second skill, and then first skill 4 times in a row. The bad thing about this, though, is this skill in general doesn't really do anything. So she does actually end up wasting time using a skill that doesn't really do anything. And that's a really loss in damage output. To be honest, this special skill shouldn't even exist, or it should be changed just in general. Maybe they should have given her more attack here whenever she uses the skill, or even more TP. Honestly, yeah, if they gave her the special skill with an attack boost and a TP battery, it would be so much better, because the way she is right now, she does have a dead action, and that really makes her so much worse than she should have been. I don't know what Psy Games has against MISORA, but so far, this version and her regular version were not that great on release, and it's really annoying. As someone who really likes MISORA, this is really annoying to actually see, because, to be honest, she should be way better than she is right now. With that said, just like I mentioned before, she is right now one of the best units we have for wind magic. We, of course, also have Ilya over here. She is the mainstay. We have Ninika, but she isn't really that crazy these days. We also have Monica, but it's not that crazy. Anemone also very good. We do have Karin for the defensive option. And Yuni, and of course, Spring Suzume. Right now, our best characters for... Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention Kokoro, of course. Right now, our best characters for wind are Kokoro, Ilya, Anemone, and Karin and Suzume, Spring Suzume. And MISORA is better than Spring Suzume. Her uptime on the defense reduction is better than Suzume, and her damage overall is also better than Suzume. However, Suzume is better, probably, on... I didn't really test this, but probably Suzume is probably much better in AoE situations, because she does have AoE damage, while MISORA only has single target damage. So most of the time, in single target situations, MISORA will be used way more often than Suzume, and of course together with Ilya and maybe with Anemone. Then again, since we do have Anemone, Suzume will not be used at all, because Anemone is so much better. Anemone basically does everything that Suzume does, but way better, and does even more than what she does. But it's not an Anemone video, so let's just move on. So as you can see, MISORA over here is actually a very strong unit for what we have right now. Probably stuff like this, and of course we could also include Kyoka, which I do not have, so let's just use her water version instead. So this is basically what we would use right now. Of course, we also have Angel Yori over here, but she doesn't really provide as much support as Princess Kokoro over here, because she is indeed way better. I'll also show on screen my team I came up with to fight against one of the previous clan battle bosses. And as you'll be able to see, the team actually deals a very good amount of damage. Right now, we don't really have a good boss to actually test a team with MISORA, because none of the bosses are like weak against wind or have a good enough moveset to actually have a good team survive against them. And surprisingly enough, this team in particular was actually worse with Spring Kyoka in it. They actually dealt way less damage with Spring Kyoka. And MISORA herself actually dealt a lot of damage, which was very surprising. And from what I've seen so far, I just feel like maybe magic damage for wind is not really as strong as maybe other elements, because from the past clan battles, or the past 2 clan battles we had since Spring Suzume was released, wind was never really the best element for the highest amount of damage, even with Spring Kyoka in the game. I'm not sure if this is gonna change with MISORA right now in the game. It really just depends on whether Cygames releases a boss with the wind element, and it's an actual good boss for the wind element, because we really don't know what Cygames will cook next time. But right now, from the previous clan battle bosses I've seen so far, wind has never really been prevalent or the best element to actually beat the boss, or for the actual most amount of damage as possible. Nonetheless, if wind does end up being the better element for whatever boss we are going to face in the future, I'm very certain MISORA will still actually be a very important character to have for those teams. Even though she isn't like an amazingly good character, she is still one of the best ones we have right now for magic damage, and because of that I still feel like she is somewhat important to actually have. However, just like I mentioned, Wind might not even be the best option to go for anyway, so not having MISORA might not actually be that bad. If I had to give a rating to MISORA, I'd maybe give her like a 7.2 out of 10. She is actually a good unit, but she's not really like an amazing unit. But yeah, that's been it for me. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about MISORA. Let me know your guys' opinion down below in the comments, and I'll be sure to actually read them, because of course I do read every comment, because it's not really that hard, to be honest. Of course, as usual, thank you so much to my members. I really, really appreciate you guys. You guys are insane. And I'll see you guys in the next video.